20 worst punishments / rules from strict parents, according to Reddit. Number 20. When I was 13, no dating until uni. When I was 18, no dating until I finish uni. When I was 20 and about to graduate, no dating unless it was someone I choose for you. What the fuck? Some parents really are crazy. You know, you can understand the 13-year-old thing, but come the fuck on. Just trying to control every aspect of someone else's life is something that most parents fail to grip. A response to this reads, in a year or two, it will be, why haven't you found a good person to give you kids yet? I want grandchildren. It's true. Women are crazy. Add some age to that equation, and they just become unbearable. Just kidding, guys. Love you. Number 19. When I was in elementary school at about 6 years old, I used to have accidents because my bladder was too small. My mom would punch me in the bladder when I got home to make me pee myself and make fun of me when I did. I still have issues, and it turns out that my bladder and uterus are fucked up from a genetic disease. I am so sorry that you were raised by an ignorant monster. Jesus Lord. Wow, a response says, you were raised by a monster. I'm so sorry. My words exactly, man. I wish that, as crazy as it sounds, you know, we all want our privacy. We all don't want, because men are just, you know, people are people. And if they have power, they'll abuse it. But at the same time, the only thing that shames people into acting right sometimes is an audience, because they're that kind of fuckboy at heart, where they're only going to act the way that is proper if they're scared of the consequence. Most people will do certain things the dirty way or the bad way if they're under the impression they can get away with it. But if they know that they'll be scrutinized and that their actions will have consequences, then they'll act accordingly. And it's fucking sad that certain people with a child will act a certain way behind closed doors that they fucking know is wrong. Awful. But we're not here to get bummed out, so let's continue. Number 18. I skipped the last day of school in 10th grade because there were no exams, and I didn't want to sit there bored for 7 hours. Instead, I went to see my mom for the day. When my dad and stepmom found out, I had my internet privileges taken away for an arbitrary amount of time that started at 3 weeks and was extended continually until they thought I had learned my lesson. I ended up going 9 months without internet in this day and age. You have any idea what you're doing to your children, or worse, the relationship to your children? Like, how fucking disgusting as a human being do you have to be to strip what isn't something that, like, it's you know, when you were growing up and you didn't have it, it could be considered a luxury. This is necessary at this point in time with our development, with our capacity for socialization. You're fucking destroying your kids. You guys can't pretend to understand something that had nothing to do with you because you grew up different. Wow. And then the person says that they would have gone for 9 months without it if the parents knew that the 3DS that they had didn't have a web browser, so they were able to get on the internet. Stupid motherfucker! What the hell? Punishing to see your parents is unacceptable no matter what. For 9 months too. Did your parents not have split custody? Were you able to see her otherwise apart from impromptu visits? It's nuts, you know? What is that? Because what does that boil down to? What does that sound like at the end of the day? Motherfucking jealousy. Are you envious that your kid went to go see the other parent? You know what I mean? Just went to go see them. Do you know what I'm saying? Some people are fucking disgusting. And one of the things that, you know, you wish everybody had the capacity to do was stop look at their actions, like whether they have to write it down or record themselves and then listen back to it, you know what I mean? And ask yourself, is this the way that a bitch would act? Is there so little going on in your life? If we were to stop you and go, hey, can you name 5 interests that you have? You know what I mean? Name 5 things that might make you seem interesting. Whether you can pursue most of your interests or not, what are 5 things that you're into? You know what I mean? Holy shit. Instead, you talking about other people, like gossip is all of what you do to communicate. You like small talk is who you are. There's nobody that you exist in a serious capacity with, where you guys can have real conversations or talk about your interests. It's all weather and what's going on TV and what celebrity is doing this. And did you hear this song on a radio? Kill yourself. Your life has been lived 1,000 times, and now you're dragging other people into your fucking paradox of a nightmare existence. Like, come on. Some people trying to live, not exist. And half of us have enough problems feeling like we're just existing as it is. But hey, we are not in this list to get turned, okay? So let us continue. Number 17, as a reminder, on the list of 20 worst punishments/rules from strict parents. Is this microphone even facing me? That's probably better. Son of a bitch. Number 17. I have literal book. Whoa, I forgot to fucking redo my thumbnails. Oh no. Well, there's nothing crazy up there. That's good too. Look, man, number 17. I have a literal book worth of stories of the abuse I survived. Ugh. Well, one time Dr. Phil's show told my mother that having a bed was a luxury for kids, so she immediately took mine away. I slept on a cold wood floor until I escaped that hellhole and cut off all contact. It's funny how media just decides what, certain parents going to do, because they don't know how to raise a kid on their own, so they just got to default to what they see some guy behind a pulpit, you know what I mean, in a church talking about, or maybe it's some dude on a show that, has been given honorary doctor status by Oprah Winfrey herself. That's what Oprah said. This is Dr. Phil, y'all. My dorm in college was the first real bed I'd slept in for 10 years. I didn't own a bed when I moved into my first apartment after college, so I was back on a wood floor. I'd moved in with the clothes on my back, my cat and her stuff, and my laptop, which I used to make money by transcribing at night while I worked for 7 an hour, 12 hours a week at Dell. Transcription, dude, that's hardcore shit. It was the only place that would hire me since I didn't have access to my own car. I cried myself to sleep every night on that wood floor. It was a reminder of how much I'd failed, leaving myself back in that position. You had a roof over your head and you were trying to make ends meet. You weren't a failure at all. It's a shame that some people set the bar so high that even in the midst of progress and, the realization of what they want to go down, they still feel like they're just a failure. My roommate must have heard me crying one night and figured it was back pain because they lent me an air mattress to sleep on. It was like I'd moved into a 4-star hotel. Eventually, I saved up a spare $50 and bought a bed off Craigslist. Sketchy, but I hadn't owned my own bed in 16 years before that. I still have the bed and refuse to part with it because I don't want to end up on the floor again. I have many chronic back problems that I don't think will ever be fixed due to being forced to sleep on the floor starting at age 7. I take pain meds when I can and do yoga, but it does not help. Sometimes when I can't sleep in my normal bed, I find myself still defaulting to the floor. When I wake up, I cry because I'm worried I'll always be like this. Parents have no idea how much they can fuck up their kids. You can say that again. Number 16, I once got beaten and locked in the basement because my hands were literally not large enough to play a certain piano piece. I couldn't play an octave separation yet before I was just gonna ask if he was Asian, dude. I'm so sad for you. I was just gonna ask if he was Asian. No racism, dude. Beaten and locked in the basement because you couldn't play a piece on the piano. Holy shit. A response reads, French guy here. I did violin, my brother piano. Although we enjoyed it at first, our love for music died out when the passion was met with fear. Oh my God. Number 15, man. Once my mom was brushing my hair and I complained. Her response, hit me on the head with said brush. Hard. So hard, in fact, that the brush broke. When she she looks at me and says, now look what you've done. Good times. Sounds like a parent, all right. Now look what you've done. I'm sorry, my head broke the brush that you fucking swung at my head, you cow. You fucking ignorant cow. If only a taste of your own medicine were in order. Fucking dumb bitch. And then they'll convince themselves that it's in the interest of, you know, strengthening the character of the kid or something like that. It's not like them using the kid as an outlet. Are you stupid? Fucking brushing the hair that hard for you fucking cuck. You don't know how to brush it. You want me to get you a doll so you can practice on? Ma'am. Somebody responds, my mother used to insist on straightening my hair while it was soaking wet. What a dumb bitch. Yo, are we going to be able to make it through this list? Or is it really just going to be, it's going to be intensely fucking frustrating. Let's try to make it through this list. Because this is gonna be a maddening list. Number 14. My parents once grounded me for 2 years for getting a B on my report card. Took everything out of my room besides the bed, and I wasn't allowed to do anything with friends. A year and a half into it, I asked if I could be ungrounded. And at that point, they had actually forgotten what they grounded me for, but refused because I must have done something bad if they grounded me. Also, they refused to let me stay up past 8 p.m., even in high school. When you're being punished without reason, it's not punishment anymore. It's abuse. It's abuse, dude. It's abuse. It's abuse. You're beating your kids. You're drawing blood from your kids. You don't know why you're punishing your kids. You can't articulate why you're doing this to another human being, dude. You're responsible for growing. It's abuse, son. It's abuse. These kids are not your outlet. Oh my God. Number 13. As punishment, my dad would make us face a corner, stand on one leg, and keep both arms straight in the air for a certain length of time. If our leg or arms went down, he'd double the time. Sometimes he'd give a surprise visit from his belt or shoe if he was particularly pissed. At least I grew up to have fantastic balance. Oh my Lord. Oh man. Sorry, I was captivated by a response that said that's called a stress position and that they did it in prisons to certain inmates, and there was a huge scandal. Bing bong. Number 12. You could earn a full-on ass whooping for uttering any of the following words or terms. Shut up, but, accusing someone of lying for any reason. We were not permitted to use the words lie, liar, or lying. Instead, we had to say, that's not the truth, or that doesn't sound right, or any other phraseology that wasn't some iteration of the word lie. Strange. Someone responds, sounds like my parents. My dad's loosened up quite a bit in the last 10 years, but growing up, the usual cuss words were not allowed, along with butt, crap, dang, darn, fart. They preferred toot, and a bunch of other silly ass shit. My parents were so hardcore when they first got married, huge Bible thumpers, that they even went as far as to throw out all Easter Bunny and Christmas cards, pretty much any holiday mall that didn't have a Christian theme to it, even stuff that our grandparents sent us as children. I only just found out a few years ago. Like another example, I didn't see Star Wars until I was 14 because PG movies were still a big no-no. It was G or basically nothing. G-rated shit. Also, my parents had to look up Dr. James Dobson's movie review website to see all the bad things that took place in movies before they would let us watch anyway. You want to know the comedy about a lot of Bible thumpers trying to protect their dumbass kids from like what they consider bad shit? Is the comedy is that I remember a long time ago they were trying to decide that Harry Potter was just like inherently evil, but at the end of the day, Harry Potter's another story about a hero where, you know, they face adversity, they overcome that adversity, and the good guys beat the bad guys in the end. Do you get what I'm saying? That happens in the Bible. Do you know what I'm saying? And what a lot of religious people, not just Christians, will do typically when they're trying to establish how bad something is they'll take something bad that happens in a story and then hold that up, you know what I mean, in the spotlight. They will take that out regardless of how it applies in the story contextually and just be like, look how bad this is. Like, the Bible had this nigga in it that you guys may have heard of called the devil. And he was doing some crazy shit, you know what I mean, that you may have heard about through osmosis, regardless of whether or not you are familiar with the Bible. Imagine if we just took up the Bible and was like, isn't this the book where the devil did blank? Any number of fucking things. And then just gone, how can a book, how can a movie, how can a TV show where someone does that be good? Of course you can't watch that. You know what I mean? Context is fucking important. And in the same way that like any fucking story where somebody is swearing or has a gun in it, you know what I mean, isn't gonna just immediately turn somebody bad. You guys gotta be thinking when you're coming to some of these conclusions, because many of the times you're doing more damage than good. A lot of these kids, you're keeping the shit away from them. As soon as they get the opportunity, they are going to indulge everything in moderation. And when you hold something from people, they just absorb as much of it as they humanly fucking possibly can. And a lot of people get themselves killed. You know what I mean? Some people it's better to release them and allow them to try a drug that they're not going to end up liking, obviously, with the you know, the ones that you can get addicted to being the exception, than to just keep it from them and go, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Because at one point they're going to get up in a situation where they just try it and they're like, man, I don't know about it, but it was kept from me so hard. What am I missing here? What am I missing? He's just going to keep doing it until, hey, that's their crutch now, baby. Number 11, man. A bit late. But one day, the news said school might be closed for a cold day, like a snow day, but for when it's cold enough, your exposed skin freezes in less than 10 minutes. My mom demanded I start walking to school or she'd report me to the cops as truant. We argued. TV said school started late that day. I decided to go anyway, that being better than arguing. She decided I was to stay home for her to call the cops. I shoved past her, which she yelled at me was assault. Then she locked me out of the house. Halfway to school, I was told the school was closed. I had to call my dad to be let into the house again. That day, I promised myself I'd leave home as soon as possible. I've stayed halfway across the country from my mom ever since. Well, I'm glad that the situation arose that allowed you that capacity. The real comedy in this situation is that you have actually had a dad that was, you know, dealing with this miserable asshole of a woman's bullshit, you know, because that's really got to be the real question. If you guys are listening to this right now, my question to you, do you have a mom that's miserable as hell? You know, which I would imagine is typically basic, apparently. What do you do? What do you say to your father, who is the voice of reason, the voice of logic as a male, to try and like figure out what the fuck is wrong with this bitch, to try and bring her down? Like, do you guys talk and say, what can we do? Do you guys collectively just avoid this hoe and hope that like this shit, you know, comes down eventually? What do you guys do? A response to this says, what is it with parents? It's like they forget how cold the cold really can be. If you bus/walk all ensconced in their warm cars, we have a few of those cold days of school to Canada. My mom once tried to make me shovel the driveway and walkway and then go to school with walking pneumonia in 4 feet of snow. Thankfully, the neighbor's dad saw me cough blood into the snow and collapse. He did the shoveling for me and talked some sense into her. I didn't even get an apology, but I did get microwaved hot chocolate. And that's the thing. Half of these parents are so stubborn and up their own ass that they would rather be wrong and know they're going to be wrong and never apologize for it than ever come to their fucking senses and just do the human civil thing, which is acknowledge this shit, deal with this shit as it applies to how you're going to act in the fucking future. You know what I mean? Like how I consider myself, you know, especially with my personas occasionally, pretty up my own butt, dude. But you can't argue with the fucking facts, with reality, with footage, with an audio recording, with something that you just did, with something that you just said. Own the fuck up to that shit. What world are you living in? This is a result of your actions. Own this shit. Because how can you be reliable otherwise? A response to that response says, why on earth did she not apologize? Are you kidding? Parents, like, never do this shit. Some parents never say please or thank you, and then if you don't do that, they're up your ass about it because, you know, the hypocritical and ridiculous nature of them is that you're supposed to do as they say and not as they do. And it's what has a lot of kids wishing that one of two things would happen: that they themselves would die, or that their parents would just end up in a cold, cold grave, because that would be the relief that would allow them to start living and stop the existence around some of these fucking psychopaths that'll never accept that they're a psychopath, even if they wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat fucking crying because they're a fucking loser. You know what I mean? Is it going to take them on a deathbed alone to realize that what they've been is something less than what people are all about? Yeah, there's something that people can, you know, love when they don't really know them well enough, but they're not a person that anyone can like. You know what I mean? Because the best friends that they'll ever have are people that don't know them well. And it's fucking insane. There's nothing that really grinds my gears more than people who don't say please and thank you, right? But with parents sometimes, dude, and I've seen this on so many occasions with different people's parents, they ride the kid about not doing the shit that they don't do. Do as I say, but not as I do. And these are some of the same Bible thumpers as well, man. The definition of hypocrisy. The biggest and greatest gift that you guys can ever give the world is to try to find a way to be as incredibly opposite as these people are capable of being. Because like we said earlier in this bitch, it's fucking monstrous. And this list is breaking my heart, but we gotta get the hell out of here. At least these kids ain't getting raped. You know what I'm talking about? Ugh, why on earth does she not apologize? If your neighbor had not seen you or saw you too late, you might have literally died. And then, you know, the parent would say it was the kid's fault for not coming to her. Why didn't you come to me? Stupid bitch. A response to that says a narcissist's prayer. That didn't happen. And if it did, it wasn't that bad. And if it was that bad, it wasn't that big a deal. And if it is, it's not my fault. And if it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, you deserved it. Bing bong, guys. Number 10. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty on the list of 20 worst punishments / rules from strict parents. Number 10. The word disgusting was banned and could have been considered just as bad as saying fuck. We weren't allowed to close doors unless we were in the bathroom. We weren't allowed to watch Cartoon Network because it was garbage. They actually put a parental lock on Cartoon Network. God bless these people. The worst punishment was one time they decided that we were such bad kids, my sister was like 14 and I was 12, that they took everything we owned and bagged it up into the garbage bags and made us carry them out to a burn pile, and they burnt everything we owned. Nigga, y'all are paying for that, alright? Stupid. All of my childhood memorabilia, pictures, clothes, diaries, everything. Burnt it all. Fucked up. When it was done burning, the next day or so later, my sister and I looked through the ashes, and all that was left were 2 silver rings of hers that we cleaned off and kept. Crazy shit. Well, that's where it is. Number 9, guys. Number 9. I had all the unusual punishments. And by unusual, of course, I mean usual. No video games for a week, no TV or X nights, no pocket money this week, groundings, you name it. I probably had it at one point or another. One particular punishment tops the rest, though, for creativity and cruelty. One day, I was at a friend's place with my parents and discovered that if we opened his bedroom window all the way, we could squeeze out of it and climb onto his roof. His bedroom was on the second floor of their house and they lived on top of a hill. So if we had fallen, we would have fallen probably 7 to 8 meters, then tumbled another 20 to 30 meters to the bottom of the hill. Anyway, both sets of parents walk outside at one point and hear us talking from the roof, and they flip their lids and call us back inside. We scramble back into his bedroom and are sitting there terrified when our parents storm in. We get called down into the kitchen and are told to sit down at the kitchen table and await our punishment. My friend's dad opens up the pantry and starts pulling things out, things to make a sandwich. Then it hits us like a ton of bricks. Our punishment is to eat a sandwich made of the most complementing grotesque food combinations that he had at his disposal. The final product ended up being an unholy blend of Vegemite, oysters, anchovies, cheese, creamed corn, raw beef, mince, and hot English mustard. I actually don't really recall what it tasted like, other than being awful. Looking back on it as an adult, I reckon it was just as much for their entertainment than our punishment. But damn if it wasn't creative. The real question here being, did you eat the entire sandwich or was it just a bite? Someone says this is pretty good. Finally something more than lighthearted. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. But did you eat the whole sandwich? But did you eat the whole sandwich? But did you eat the whole sandwich? Whatever, man. I never get the answers to my questions. What a cruel world. Number 18. This is an 18, Kyle. There'd be a 1 there. You're talking to me about numbers? I know all the numbers. Number 8. I refused to greet my sister's new boyfriend with more than a sup. So later that night, my mom Hulk smashed my laptop, double fist style. Dude, look, some of these parents just got so much rage and they looking for a reason to get it out. You know what I'm talking about? You ever know somebody just looking for something and regardless of what it is, they gonna find it? You guys probably have girlfriends that, you know, it just seem like they just explode off of nothing. And it's because they looking for a reason, homie. You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be a reasonable reason. You know what I mean? Reason don't need to be reasonable. You see what I'm saying? They're looking for something. They're going to find it. That's a red flag, by the way. If you got a girlfriend and a girlfriend ain't a wife, get the fuck out of there. Some of these girls probably, you know, they're if they're not cheating, then they know that they don't want to be in this relationship long term, and they're trying to get you to dump them. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not saying obviously all women. God, I'm not making general statements. I'm just saying a lot of the times when you get people freaking out about nothing, something's wrong, you know? And if it's not something that you guys can talk out, because trust me, communication is a big thing that's typically really easy between two people who genuinely understand each other. So if you have somebody that you can communicate with and they're flipping their wig over fucking nothing and you can't get to the bottom of what really is the core issue, get the fuck out of there. It's a warning sign. You know what I'm talking about? Don't let the reason that they look for next be something that they twist into something fucking Godzilla-like. A response to this laptop Hulk smash says, I know those feels. I wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid. My older sister saved up a lot of money to buy a microscope kit for me, where you could make your own slides. It was awesome. One day my sister and I got into a fight about doing the dishes. My mother punished my sister by forbidding her from seeing her boyfriend. My mother punished me by breaking my microscope in two by smashing it into my head with one hand and holding me against the wall by my throat in the other. It's shitty how parents can simultaneously abuse you and the things you care about. I lost all interest in science after that. Held him against the wall by his throat and broke something of his over his head. You know, I've had microphones of mine broken by my mother, right? But come on, man. You know, and that's something that you guys need to understand. You hear me giving women a lot of shit in these videos, and you guys look at me like I'm biased, and all I can say to you is that your experience is incomplete. I'm not saying that, look, if there were 10 women in the world, I'm not saying that all 10 are like this. I'm saying 8 of them are, okay? I'm saying 8 of them are, because women, by definition, are hormonal. Their emotions get the best of them. Their emotions dictate their actions in certain scenarios, regardless of their intent, regardless of their capacity for restraint. Their emotions get the best of them. Think about a mother. If you've ever been in one of my streams, you guys can't shut Sarah up. Sarah Bishop will go on about her kids for fucking weeks. And it's not her fault. Her kids are a part of her life. She loves her kids. Moms are supposed to love their kids. Some parents are monsters. Some parents love the kids, and the way that love manifests in them because they're monsters is fucking crazy. You know what I mean? But take something as conflicted as a mother's love and think about the amount of abuse that finds these kids because the emotions that unfold inside of a woman, especially when you ice that cake with age. I'm not playing, guys. I'm not playing. You guys got shit to say to me, and obviously, here's the thing that you need to understand before you open your mouth and write this bullshit or text it out or let your fingers hit the fucking keyboard so you can send me this comment about how I'm being an asshole. If you don't know women who are assholes and fucking crazy as a fucking consequence of their emotions, because their emotions turn them into the instruments of that fucking feeling, you know what I mean? Your experience is incomplete. You're young. You're not social. You don't know people. Because if you knew 10 women, you'd know 8 of them. You'd know 8 of them were like this. When it comes out, the basic female can't stop this shit through no fault of her own. Through no fault of her own. Because it gets that bad, you know? And it's like a renaissance. When these girls are really young, it's nothing going on. When they become teenagers, their bodies are a chemical battleground. Then they balance the fuck out for just a little bit, if you're lucky, some of them. But once they start getting older, once they hit that middle age and they start drifting on up, oh my God. Oh my God. So when you're throwing in a situation like that with one woman and maybe even a teenage girl where they're having to clash off of each other in ways that they could possibly never align with, you can't get a teenager and a middle-aged lady to understand each other, nigga. It's not about the worlds that you guys are from and how different they are. It's just y'all are speaking, it may seem like you're speaking the same language, but it's a completely different language you're speaking. So take what would be essentially one of the purest things in the world, a mother's love for her kids, and compound that with how much emotional crap would have to go down for her to take the feelings going on inside of them and manifest it into rage so profound that she could take her own kid that came out of her by the throat and take something that she knows brings this kid joy and bash it over this little nigga's head. How fucking intense do you think the emotions have to be? Because you can't just think, oh, these are extreme cases. You know what I mean? Think about if you are the type of person where your mom has acted right, you're lucky, and get the fuck off this channel. You know what I'm talking about? You will never know how nice it is, okay? Because maybe some of y'all parents are dead. Maybe some of y'all lost your parents to cancer in a car accident. Somebody had a heart attack. You know what I'm talking about? Is it better? You know, that's a whole nother conversation, and I'm crazy. I'm crazy for bringing it up and having that kind of shit happen. But is it better? Is it better than having a mom that's going to abuse you in like subtle ways? Abuse you in physical ways, abuse you in ways where it's like something happened to me and I'm confiding in you, and they're using that as ammunition against you in the future because that's why you confided in them. You know what I mean? Where something bad happened to you and you're confiding in the parents and maybe they don't believe you. No, you weren't raped. You know what I mean? It's not that big a deal. I had something like that happen to me when I was younger and I got over it. Do you know what I mean? It's not just ignorance. It's not just emotion. It's something so fundamentally profound happening at the core of a person's being that makes it so that the emotion blinds parts of the brain that should otherwise function in a capacity that gives people perspective, okay? Because even if you've been through something before, you have to realize that we're all individuals and people are different. And just because you've been through what they have been through doesn't mean that you are as equipped as they are, or they are as equipped as you were. You know what I mean? You should be able to see these things at least a little bit in the future, calculate some variables, think reasonably, logically, and in a way that makes sense, where you're applying things that you've been through, experiences and knowledge, right? But when the emotion runs red hot, that's all that they see is what they're gonna do and how it makes them feel, okay? It's scary, but it's real. So I really don't want to hear it, you know? I'm not speaking to you because something bad happened to me specifically, dude. I know things because I've seen things from people and how they treat others. And my experience is incomplete, but it's a little more complete than some people's, okay? So just live a little bit more. And I'm not saying it's going to make you jaded or biased or bitter or spiteful like I am, because I'm really not as crazy as you may think. But it's sad, and this bums me out because it's happening too early for some people. The way that I like to think about it is, a parent's job is to toughen the kids up for sure, to make that skin thick. And I wish school's job was that job too, was to make the kids skin something more reminiscent of like a hide, like a rhino hide even. Give them some thick skin, because when they get out in the real world, they're gonna see that this shit is really unbearable, unless they were so lucky that maybe they're extremely physically attractive and, you know what I mean, and they're gonna have doors open for them. Maybe they're born with that spoon in their mouth and they're wealthy and they're gonna have those doors open for them. But otherwise, man, things are gonna be fucking rude. Things are gonna be unfair. Things are gonna be cruel. And we need to be prepared for that. Better the bad things happen to somebody that is at least a little bit capable of dealing with it than they happen to somebody who is unbelievably unprepared for that. And you want to know the people who are most unprepared for what the world has to offer? It's children, okay? It's children. So yeah, we're all jaded, we're all cynical, we're all crazy. We can jump onto a subreddit, watch people die. But you know what? The average person is not going to react the same way to some dude jumping in front of a train than watching a kid fall in front of that fucking platform and onto the tracks. You know what I mean? Because it's not just because, oh, they got much more of a life to live. It's because maybe they haven't reached an age where they were equipped with the understanding of how bad that is. So, you know, the people that are supposed to be doing that equipping, that toughening up of a kid, are the parents. So it doesn't get much sadder than when the parents, because they can't control their emotions, are fucking these kids up. And it's really heartbreaking. It's super duper heartbreaking. And I'm trying to make it through this list, but this is really making me sad, man. Half of us get enough sad. And not the type of sad where like it's presented in a movie or something where we can enjoy the sad because it makes us feel different ways. But like, this is just sad. This is bottom of the barrel sad. What are we going to need to look at after this? Like pictures of dogs and cats or something? Fuck me. Number 7. On the list of 20 worst punishments / rules from strict parents. God damn. Oh, one I can answer. My mother is an honest-to-God narcissist. I graduated from high school early at 16 and didn't go to college immediately, so I worked at a part-time job while my friends went to school. Anyway, when all my friends graduated high school and we celebrated by going to the movies, my friend's mom dropped us off and another friend's father was going to pick us up. My mom was very upset at me for going to the movies anyway, since it wasn't going to be over until 9 p.m. My bedtime at the time was 9 p.m. Okay. Anyways, finally she lets me go on the condition that my friend's dad gets me home by 10 p.m. My friend's father ran into late night construction on the way home, and me and several other friends in the van. And the closer it got to 10 p.m., the more I started to freak out, telling everyone I was going to be in huge trouble if I didn't get home, like right now. My friend's father assured me he would speak to my mom and all would be fine. I was the first to be dropped off because I was panicking so severely. The moment the van pulls into the driveway, my mom comes barreling out of the house telling me she was going to kick my ass for being late and keeping her up. My friend's dad tries to calm her down and separate her from hitting me. That is when she realizes I'm chewing gum. Now, my mother hated gum. She said the only reason why you would ever chew gum was to hide something. What? So naturally, she makes the assumption that I was late chewing gum because I was busy sucking my friend's dad's dick. What? That was the only explanation in her mind. She grounded me for 12 weeks, an entire summer. I wasn't allowed to have a phone, a cell phone, TV, or books the entire summer. Every morning, my mom would take the cable box, home phone, handset, and keyboard to make sure I couldn't do anything. Needless to say, my friends never invited me to anything again, in the fear that my mom would call the cops and accuse me of sucking their dad's dick. Bye-bye, her social life. She also used to report my car stolen if I didn't call her back when I was in college. All right, well, all I can say is this. A lot of these parents better live hoping beyond hope that they'll always be capable of working and taking care of themselves, you know, and that they've put away enough money so that, you know, there'll always be people around them that they can pay to take care of them in the event that something goes fucking wrong. Because how much further can you push somebody away? You know what I mean? When in the future, something bad could happen to you. You develop something mentally, you know, physically, you know, the people that are going to be willing to take care of you will not be family if this is the way you guys are acting. Somebody said, please tell me you no longer see each other or speak. And somebody said she is now happily married to her friend's dad and chewing lots of gum. Oh, comedy. Okay, that wasn't the original commenter. So we out here making them comedy posts. Okay, Jesus Christ, this is a what the bing bong. Oh my God, guys, I do love you, and I don't record as much as I need to for this channel. I'm gonna be trying to do a lot more books in the future, not for the channel, but you know, gotta get through this. Number 6, my mother is a malignant narcissist. Obligatory plug to raised by narcissists. So the rules in my childhood home went from bad to straight up disturbing. Bullet points. Could only shower twice a week. We lived on a pig farm. I loathed that rule. Had to wear my clothes at least 2 to 3 days in a row, regardless of playing outside, working, or getting dirty. School was not fun, but I did get in a system where I wore different clothes underneath and shed the outer layers on the bus. Eventually, in my later teens, she slightly loosened the rule. No phone calls. If my friends ever called, and I almost always had to say, I will see you at school, and hung up. Clean your plate rule. I would give a dog what my mother cooked. If it wasn't finished, my meal first. If I wasn't finished with my meal first, she would grab my chair and throw it across the room. I then had to take my plate and go to the chair to finish my meal. I never stood a chance. My siblings could inhale a buffet like a shop vac, and she always gave them whatever portions looked the most appetizing first. They were, of course, allowed to belittle me when this happened. If I wasn't the first person in the kitchen in the morning to set up the breakfast, I would have to take my clothes off and eat naked, while everyone else ridiculed me. My father worked 16 hours a day on the farm and wasn't around most of us. When he saw it one day, he put an immediate stop to it. Damage was done, though. Again, the game was rigged for me to lose. I had severe insomnia for years, laying awake every night for hours going over and over about whatever crap shit had happened that day and how to fight it the next crazy storm that was coming. I could never wake up in the mornings and just bound out of bed. We were not allowed to set our own alarm clocks, so as soon as the signal went off for the rest, we're already halfway down the stairs before I even realized what was going on. I was not allowed to watch the endings of TV shows or movies, and what we watched was strictly controlled. This is the one that actually left huge mental scars for years. It may seem petty, but it's also been well proven that children grow more attached to a storyline in TVs, in films, than adults do. I need to know what the last plot twist ends. Even if to an adult it's a cheesy, unpredictable ending. My mother knew this and would always barge into the den at the cliffhanger commercial break and turn off the TV. It was a form of hijacking information to deliberately keep me confused and reinforcing her absolute control over every aspect of my life. This is pretty ridiculous, guys. This is a fucking novel. To this day, I find TV shows I watched as a child and binge the rest, just to see how each episode ends. Ridiculous timings to complete a lengthy list of chores. I would have 20 minutes to get the house clean, dishes washed, dried, put away by hand, vacuum, dust, sweep, laundry started, and bathrooms clean. Not being done meant a beating. And even worse was that I was not allowed to go back and finish it afterwards. Our house always looked like a pig pen. Drove me nuts. No using the dryer for laundry unless it was below freezing outside. This was in central Canada. Also on that note, not turning on the heat at night even in the dead of February in fucking central Canada. She gave my siblings electric heating blankets. I was told to shut up. Our house was very old and hardly insulated. I now live in a temperate climate where there is no winter. My mother would frequently sign me up for clubs and activities and refused to take me to them in the car. We lived at least 10 miles away from anywhere, and the vehicle's gas usage was a business tax write-off for the farm. She would yell at me to call other kids in the group for a ride, which was not an option as I either didn't have a clue who the hell was in the group, and if it was any of the classmates, they all hated me. There was no way I could call and beg for rides from my very out-of-the-way location. She made me get a summer job, and when I was 8, picking rocks out of the neighbor's crop fields before the planting was done. Technically, it paid $50 a week, which is richer than Bill Gates when you're 8, but I wasn't allowed to have my money. I have worked at least a part-time job since I was 12. Wow, by 13 I had to buy my own clothes, school supplies, field trips, and summer camp, which she would also sign me up for and give me a bill for the cost because you're working now, so learn to pay for it. She also forced me to sign up for a possible year-long exchange student program in Europe and insisted I pay for the entirety myself. It was $6,000, which I didn't have even a fraction of, and she would have certainly made me pay it or force me into a loan with her, with unimaginable strings attached. Thankfully, I signed up too late and was denied, and a year later, she paid for my brother to go on the same exchange. None of this includes the daily battles just to get anything done, the fights that were created out of thin air, arbitrary things being turned into World War III, the constant stress of knowing the next battle is coming soon. I had the shock of my life when I moved out, and it was 100 times easier. Not saying things went smoothly, they certainly didn't. But not having a raging control freak over your shoulder makes everything much easier. I left at 17, never went back. I am on VLC, very low cost, very low contract right now, and it's working well. Well, that's good. I'm really trying to figure out, I guess when you're a little kid, there ain't much you can do, you know what I mean? I guess when you're a little kid, there ain't much you can do. I just hope there's a way to save some people that may be getting this kind of ridiculous treatment these days. Thank God, typically, even like a corny ass, smartphone is like $40, So if you're getting abused in a capacity where it's like, come the fuck on, I'm just a little kid, you could record somebody without them knowing and just stockpile some evidence, maybe, you know? The more it happens, the better it looks. So never feel like you can't fight back, because if you use your noggin, there may always be help for you. Number 5, my grandmother was a retired English teacher, and one day I called my brother stupid. I was about 4 or so. She filled me in on her rule that if I couldn't spell stupid, but I called someone stupid, then it was really me that was stupid. Thus, I should never call someone stupid a name that I couldn't spell. So in my 4-year-old head, rather than avoid name calling, realized that I did know how to spell dumb. So that word must be permitted. I spent the rest of the day overusing the word dumb, and she wasn't quite sure what to do at that point. That's it. There's something adorable about this one. She wasn't quite sure, but I know how to spell dumb. You're dumb. Number fucking 4. I dealt with a narcissist/abusive mother. Most of my punishments weren't huge because I was really a good kid, but on my 18th birthday, because I asked for gas money the day before, for the first time ever, she took mine and her car keys with her to work and took the shed key. No garage. So I couldn't even ride my bike, and left a note on the kitchen table saying, "Happy 18th, now you're an adult, so get out of my house." I spent my birthday alone, trapped and miserable, all over $10. Well, there you go. There you go, bro. What a fucking cunt. Number 3, I was not allowed to use the public restrooms. Oh wait, you weren't allowed to use any public restrooms? I ruined our Disney trip because of how many times we had to go back to the hotel, not on site, when I was 6. And I quite honestly had accidents when I was far too old to do so, because my parents had my teachers reporting bathroom use to them too. There was no place I could safely use the restroom other than home without getting into trouble. Finally, I got to use public restrooms without punishment when I fucking went to college. No, I'm not kidding. But I got pretty good at hiding restroom use in high school because the high school refused to report it to my parents. Why did none of these teachers spot the abuse? How? It's not about not spotting the abuse. People just roll with that shit, homie. People just roll with that shit, you know? People turn a blind eye. It's kind of what they do. On every level of society, on every level, you got to make a fuss. You gotta, the squeaky wheel is the one that's going to get the grease, guys. So you got to make a fuss occasionally. If you're being wronged, and if it's unjust, then for sure, you know, everybody's going to take your side eventually. Even the people that are turning the blind eye, if there's enough eyes on them, then suddenly they're not blind, and they're like, yeah, this is uncalled for. Oh my gosh. Number 2, as the eldest son of a Southern Baptist preacher, can I get an amen? I was held to some high standards. Being seen and not heard, and that my every action was a reflection of my father as a leader to his congregation. I found music to be a great outlet, but of course any non-Christian music was not allowed and immediately destroyed upon discovery. Spared the rod, spoiled the child was a mantra ingrained in my daily life. Once I was into my teens and the spankings with stretched out coat hangers was no longer enough to be considered punishment due to the lack of tears, my father moved on to shaving my head. Nothing like the constant reminder of how unworthy one is once their physical source of personal identity is forcibly removed. So I said, fuck this thread sucks. Well, number 1, guys, on the list of 20, hey, aren't you guys glad it was only 20 worst punishments / rules from strict parents? Fuck me. Okay. More like narcissist asshole. Am I right? Oh my god. Excuse me. Give me that burp alerts. Number 1. I got grounded from from and. I got grounded from an end of the year party. I was 11 for getting a B on a paper, even though I still got all A's. I was devastated. It was thrown by my best friend, and I was never allowed to do anything, and I had been looking forward to. Oh my God. He was saying I was never allowed to do anything, and I had been looking forward to it all year, meaning the party. I had the perfect dress to wear because my aunt, via marriage, had taken me shopping and bought this cool dress that made me feel like Molly fucking Ringwald. I was never allowed to wear it before, and it had been in my closet since September. I was seriously having a Cinderella moment, although I honestly related more to Jane Eyre because I was adopted and a bookworm. The day of the party, I'm bawling. I'm a good kid. I try to be perfect every waking moment. Now I'm grounded from my best friend's party. The mom of my best friend knows how tough it is at home. I'm screamed at, belittled, hit all the time. This party was a fucking beacon. Arlene, my best friend's mom, barges into my house, tells me to get ready and get my stuff together because I'll be spending the night. My mom protests. And then, how about I call Child Protective Services about the 50 fucking cats in your house? I go to the party and Arlene teaches me to be a badass. Your mother had 50 fucking cats in the house? Talk about the cat getting out of the bag. Is that comment been made? No. Nobody made the cat getting out of the bag comment. I'm safe, guys. I did it. I did it. If you didn't like the video yet, you better like it now because I made the cat getting out of the bag reference. Nobody did it. Woo! It's the obvious comment, guys. Threatening to let the cats out of the bag. You see what I'm saying? Letting your kid get the, you got one B on a paper even though you got all A's? That's an error, and I'm better than you, okay? I'm somehow still better than you because you got a B. You stupid kid. No, you're not going to your party. Fucking take that away from you too, you fucking 11-year-old bitch. And I hate you. Now feed these 50 cats. It couldn't have been 50. That's got to be an exaggeration. But it had to have been enough. It had to have been enough cats for the threat of Child Protective Services over the number to reach a point where it was devastatingly unsafe to have a child amongst. You have to wonder how a lady like that ends up with a kid when she has that many cats. I guess that's not something that I thought about, is that there are cat ladies who also have kids. Because, hey, maybe they have long hair and titties. I'm sure they probably got a guy drunk enough one time to, not really have to deal with who they actually are so much as just fill up that slot. Waka waka. A cat choke slam. Go to sleep, bitch. Go to sleep. Wasted. Oh my God. Killing Floor, a zombie game, was made free. I was trying that out with Hannah earlier, and seems pretty amusing. So maybe sharing that on the stream later. Maybe amusing. Guy's painting a self-portrait. This is very nice. I like it a lot. It's a great picture of Tom Cruise. Mission Impossible. Yeah, I'm talking about. What do you think the top comment in this is? I spent all day watching 11 episodes of House of Cards, and this guy spends a few minutes being more creative and productive than I have all year. Hilarious. Oh, guys, so I recorded this. And I guess I'll catch you guys later. So let me know what you're all about. Have your parents ever inflicted something that was just cruel in a capacity where there really was no redemption, and they have to come to terms with the fact that they were just an instrument of their own emotion, or I don't know, using you as an outlet because they don't have any other outlets, and you're the problem apparently? Tell me all about it. Tell me about some bad punishments or, rules that were set upon you. Or maybe I should turn it into a confession podcast. We could do that tonight. Love you. See you later. Bye.